Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of The Boardroom, where, as always, we are talking to some of Malta's leading business minds, both about the impact of COVID so far and their thoughts on what we can expect in the weeks and months to come. We are live today on Facebook. If you do have any questions or comments for our interviewees live, please do add them below, and we will pass them on if we can. If you don't manage to catch this live, this will be streamed back on who'swho.mt, Malta's leading business portal. Now, today we're going to be talking about the rental market. We know that property has been affected by the COVID downturn, and letting in particular has been affected in many ways, and particularly short lets. To help us make sense of everything that has been going on in this area, allow me to welcome our guests today. They are Thomas Cremona, he's the founder of Casa Rooms, Benji Psaila, who is the rental manager at Dhalia, and Edward Agius, who is CEO of Remax Lettings Malta. Thank you to the three of you for being with me today on The Boardroom.
Oh, thank you, Joe. A pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
Nice to see you. So to start off the conversation today, Edward, I'm going to come straight to you to talk about and to give us a sort of quick introduction to the rental market compared, say, to last year. Are we still in a boom?
Well, the growth came in line with the Maltese economy over the last few years. The rental market has boomed. Okay, we've increased on a yearly basis. This came down to gaming, financial services, pharmaceutical companies. So for the last few years, the rental market has been going up. Okay, this year we had COVID. Okay. I wouldn't say that we're as good as previous years because obviously it had an impact on the market. Some say it's a negative impact, some say it's a positive impact. We should see the both sides of the coin. Okay, definitely it was a correction of the market, which was well needed. Okay, previous years we've had an increase in rents. Obviously, due to demand and supply, where demand was very high because of all these industries requesting properties for their employees, relocation of offices, and all this. This year, COVID's here. People were, let's say, working from home, teleworking. Some offices required some people working from had also to send them to their own other countries. So there was availability. Okay, prices have corrected themselves. I wouldn't say gone down, but I would say that they have corrected themselves and stabilized, which was well needed. Okay, as regards to figures, I would say it's still a good year. It's not as expected. It's not the increase we expected like previous years, but it's still a good year. We saw opportunities where we could people who were sharing apartments now ended up affording their own apartment, because before a property was unaffordable to rent it on their own. So now, before they used to share, now they're getting their own apartment. So it was a let's see the positive side of this pandemic. It's not just masks and sanitizers and staying in and this. There was a positive side to the industry. Obviously, we've had our challenges where we couldn't work as freely as we usually work. And we had availability of properties, short let apartments coming available for long lets. So yeah, we've had our challenges, but thanks to our agents and our team, which saw how we can overcome this. Okay, so yes, in reality, it was not the increase that we predicted for like previous years, but it was on the whole and a positive year.
Okay.
As I said, we've had our challenges. We've had a lot of properties coming available. It was hard to work, but we still did our best to make it happen.
Okay.
So
Okay, thanks, Ed. A good introduction there to the sort of long let market. And Benji, I'll come to you now just to follow on from that. So what has your experience been over at Dhalia? And could you brief us on what you've seen from COVID for the long let market?
I mean, basically what Edward's saying is correct, but obviously we had always expected that in the next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be an oversupply of properties. People have been investing in buy-to-let properties for the past 3 to 4 years, and there's most sales that were happening were investments. So property that was being built on plan, and obviously it's coming to the stage where they're coming on the market for rent. COVID has sort of taken part of the oversupply that there is, and that is one of the issues we have at the moment. So I mean, there's a lot of supply. I mean, 8 months ago, when we were at our peak, there was nothing to show to clients. Clients didn't have a choice. We take them 1, 2 properties because everything was rented. Now there's more of a choice, and owners have to be more flexible on rents. And it's a correction, as Edward said. So we're expecting this correction, and I think it's here to stay for a while.
And hoping
will not change. Yeah, we're hoping this because it's easier for us, and we like giving a choice to our clients. At this, I mean, 6, 7 months ago, we couldn't give choices to clients. Property was sort of unaffordable for a lot of customers that came into the So yes, I mean, that's my take on it. I'm just hoping that people adapt to this change, because I feel that it's going to be here for a while.
Absolutely. And Benji, I'll stay with you just on that one. I'd love to know, when you say you hope people adapt to this change, what exactly do you mean by that?
I think people need to gain confidence of moving apartment and going out with agents to look at properties. I mean, this is one of the things that's holding back people from renting as well, and traveling as well. I mean, I'm not in a position to get on a plane. I don't need to, and I can wait to sort of travel. I think people are in a stage where they're waiting, to see what happens. They're not in a position to make decisions immediately, and move from one apartment to the other. People will wait. One of the biggest issues is that people are sort of asking for discounts on rent. So we have a lot of clients who come to us. They first look around, see 3, 4 properties, and then after they've seen 4 or 5 properties with us, they call the owner and they get a rent deduction, and they remain in the same property. So sort of these clients have to adapt to the situation that we have to go out there, and we have to not be scared of working.
Absolutely.
It's keeping people back.
Absolutely. Thomas, I'm going to come to you now, if you don't mind, for a quick introduction. Your business is slightly different.
Yes.
To Benji's and Edward's. You are managing short let properties, which of course has seen a very different trajectory than perhaps the long let property market. So could you give us a bit of a brief, first of all, about what you do and also how you've been affected?
Okay, so we do manage properties on behalf of a number of owners, where we do either operating them on a short let basis or on a long let basis. Now, just to basically continue to the Edward and Benji's discussion, prior to these last 3 years, there has been an incredible boom, primarily from the expatriate market, where every year we're getting about 8,000 new people coming to Malta for a job. These people needed to be catered for. Back then, they were being catered for number of people per apartment, which, due to the reduction in prices or negotiating again with the owners or just the market having a slight correction, they are now being able to accommodate, let's say if there were 3 to an apartment, nowadays there can be 2, or in some cases even 1, which is something we have noted. Another area is the short let market, where I always have viewed short let for the majority of our portfolio and majority of the properties in Malta in relation to being, if you can afford to go to a hotel, you're going to go to a hotel. So short lets in Malta have primarily worked best in the summer period, being that the hotels exponentially increase their prices because there's such a strong demand, whilst the short let market is taking sort of the bottom of the barrel, or people who can't afford such high prices. Don't get me wrong, there are exceptions to the rule with phenomenal short let properties, but the majority are in that category. So what happened this summer was that the hotels either didn't open or gave significantly good prices, meaning that a lot of the short let market was unable to operate or unable to operate profitably. So it moved. So a good part of the portfolio moved on to the long let market. So that was another big aspect. The other aspect is also the citizenship by investment. It has slowed down, and that had a particular impact on the price bracket of about 1,350 per month. So these things all assisted to correct the market, let's put it that way. Obviously, COVID didn't help at all. So.
I see. Okay, Edward, I'll come. So what would you like to add, Ed?
If I may add something, I mean, because Benji mentioned them going to the owner for a discount. More than a discount, it is in reality going back to realistic prices. The word discount sounds really bad for the owner, but in reality, due to the high increase over the last 3-4 years, exaggerated increase, in reality, it is a discount, yeah, but in reality, it's correcting to what is a realistic price for the apartments, you know, and affordable price for what we can offer, you know. So the word discount hurts a bit, you know. Owners may tell them, "Oh, give them a discount." No, in reality, it's you know, correcting them into what was originally a realistic price. You know?
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Thomas, I'll come back to you and just sort of ask, so with this correction to the price that we have seen, what sort of percentages are short lets now going for a cheaper rate?
They're probably about 30 or 40% cheaper. At least.
30 or 40% cheaper. Yeah, that's been my experience as well.
Only the strongest markets can survive, which from my experience is Valletta. We tried it a bit. We had those 6 weeks, July, August, where we had a bit of a boom of people coming in, and we had a couple of properties going on. But as soon as, again, the restrictions came on from overseas, there's not much to do. So, yes.
If I can add something as well, this is the oversupply that we actually have on the market, is that there were around 12,000 properties in total that were on holiday rentals, and I'd say half of them came on long term. Right? So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the prices have been adjusting. And I think they'll carry on adjusting, because you can't rent a flat for 6 months now. These flats will be rented for a year anyway.
Yeah.
So next, I don't see the potential of holiday rentals, at least one other year.
Yeah, in fact, adding to Benji's, the COVID came at a time where we had the rent registration implemented, and so we were like, you know, we were trying to educate owners. You know, you need to register your rental, and you need to do it this way. You need to add these clauses. Then COVID, you know, people asking for a discount. It was a challenging 6 months. Quite a bit of.
Edward, let me come to you and ask you: is it still viable to buy to let?
Yes, it is. I mean, property is the safest investment, in my opinion. Is the safest investment you can do. Obviously, you're not going to buy a property and leave it empty, so you need some form of return. Purchasing a property now, you know, the situation is maybe you get I'm sure you find good opportunities at the moment. People wanting to sell, and you know, but the market will the property market is one of our biggest, let's say, revenue for the government, and it's the best investment you can do. You know. So it will always remain our forte, you know, as a country. You know, we've got good properties, you know, and so yes, I think that the market will get better again, slowly. It will take a bit of time, but it's already on the way out. You know,
certainly. So. And Benji, we used to talk about, you know, rental returns of sort of 5.6%, 6%, etc. How realistic is that as we go into the future now? And perhaps maybe what is more realistic? I'm not saying it's any less of a good investment, far from it. I agree with you, Edward, that property remains a very strong investment. But realistically, what should potential landlords be looking at getting?
Well, it all depends on the value of the property that one buys. Before, people weren't happy unless they had a 5 to 6% annual return. What some investors don't understand is the capital appreciation of property in Malta. And if you have money in the bank sitting there, it's giving you nothing as a return. I mean, the banks might give 1-2% at the most at the moment. So realistically today, I think for the next 12 months, 2 years, if one's getting a 4% return, they should be more than happy. I think that property prices in Malta will not go down. There will be some present landlords who would feel the pinch, and they might have to sell. And there will be some good deals, for sale on the market. But I don't see. I mean, Malta, it's such a small market. The actual people believe in buying to rent. So I think it will adjust slightly, but for us, it's a sort of opportunity as well. I mean, we're a bit stagnant. I felt that working was getting a bit boring in the last a couple of years.
Too easy.
It's a positive change, and I think everything will adjust and fall into place.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, Thomas, I'll come to you. Have there been any positives at all within the short-let market, and how have you managed to sort of keep your landlords, many landlords, going? What's been your advice to them in this period?
No, the advice is as in follow the market trends. So when the tenants do come to renegotiate the contracts, don't be greedy, respect the market, because ultimately, if the tenant is going to pull out at this point in time, the property is going to you're going to have to reduce the price anyway. And you're going to have to wait another month till the right tenant comes along. You have to pay Edward and Benji their agency fee. And the cycle keeps turning. And plus, you're building a whole new relationship. So if you have a good tenant in there, just try keep them, try make them happy. Obviously, emphasis on a good tenant. So. And then in relation to short lets, what we have done with the majority of our portfolio is we have advised the owners to try switch to long lets as much as possible. Many of them have, and they're just keeping it going, That is the general advice, just holding out till the good times return, because at the end of the day, many of them would have bought at market rates expecting returns as they were a couple of years ago, not as they are right now. So.
Okay, so riding it out.
Yep.
Edward, I'll come to you. We know that in sales, there were lots of cowboys certainly in the market, which again was sort of pushing prices up and making things, more challenging for the people that do their job in this area well. Do you think that COVID is going to make, along with other elements that are happening, do you think it's going to make the rental market more stable and safer for both tenants and landlords?
Is this question to me or to Benji?
Edward.
Okay, all right. I believe that, as I previously mentioned, COVID is helping. I mean, between COVID and rent registration is helping as well. Something to mention, which I did not earlier. By the end of the year, our agents are going to be licensed as well. Okay, so we started the courses for actually by mid next year. But we started the courses for the license, so an estate agent needs to be licensed. So everything is falling into place all together. Rent registration, people register their rents. They're protected by the law. Our agents are trained and also qualified and also licensed. So if and also this COVID thing that is also correcting the market. Your question again, the future of the rental, what's going to happen? If you think that it's going to get better or worse, is that right? No?
Yes, that's right.
I believe that eventually they start increasing again because demand will be there. Okay, we've got a lot of offices at the moment which have are using a lot of teleworking. Okay, which are having half of their employees working from home and also from the countries. I personally, in my opinion, I still believe that getting dressed, going up to work, and working in an office environment, is still the way forward. Working from home is nice, for a few days, but the office environment is where it makes you get the results. So eventually, more companies will start recruiting again. We know for a fact that some of them left the island because obviously, but we've already seen an increase of some companies relocating new employees onto the island. So as I said, eventually we will go back to the office environment, and they need to fill up the desks. So my opinion is that teleworking will work for the next few months and maybe even years, but eventually we will go back to the same numbers.
Okay. Thank you, Edward. Benji, coming to you just to discuss a little bit about the expat market, which of course was and is important to both short and long lets. With regards to that expat market, what should we be doing to attract them to the island? Obviously, we have a few threats at the moment. COVID notwithstanding, there are other aspects like Manival, like Brexit, like the fact that there are ongoing comments about the quality of the island, whether quality of life is high enough here. What should we be focusing on if we do want to continue to attract good expat workers to Malta?
Well, one of the things that didn't really change in the last 6 months was gaming. I mean, gaming remained very strong. I think the revenues have actually doubled in the last 6 months, and COVID didn't really affect them. They just carried on working like nothing happened, basically. We had an issue with a lot of other industries, the tourism industry, hotels, the normal clientele, the normal expats that come here to work from the EU, come and get normal jobs in bars, restaurants, shops. I mean, that has been a bit of an issue. And I think till the airport starts to open again, till the cases of COVID start to reduce, I think it's going to take a bit of time to adjust. So, I mean, our market and the biggest industry in letting is gaming, and Edward can confirm this. I mean, and it's carried on. It's still the strongest clientele we have, which is gaming. I mean, there are a lot of other industries, finance, but I think that those industries have been affected with COVID, and I think gaming hasn't. We've actually seen an increase of expats come through. Again, I mean, the problem I think is the confidence to come here. I mean, out there in other countries, I mean, they seem to be quite bad on the list of deaths and COVID. I mean, it's high. I mean, people get a bit. I mean, people I think will wait. I mean, it's all a waiting game. So it's just until this sort of slows down, I think then we'll pick up again immediately at a fast pace. I still think the supply of properties will remain very, very high to what it was a year ago. And that's where it will take much longer than to adjust again and for prices to start increasing once again.
It's a good sign, Ben. It's a good sign because we have a variety to show to our clients. Where we usually
and Edward,
there's a client who's seen 40 properties and comes in and tells, I want to see some more. I don't think that's good. It's motivating.
Edward, before I move on to Thomas, I just want to ask you a question. With regards to sort of our policy and our vision for Malta, is it time to stop building apartments and instead start focusing on the beautification of the island?
So that's a bit, that's putting me on the spot.
I know what I think the answer should be.
I know your opinion. Stop building.
Stop building.
It's the only way forward. I mean, demand will always be there. And the only way is, I mean, we can't go this side, we can go up. Or the only way is up. We need to. I mean, once there are areas which have, let's not use the word ruin, but already built. Might as well fill up the areas which have availability. I believe that the demand in property will keep increasing. It's remember, it's not just the buy-to-let market, which is a stronghold on the property market. It's also the first-time buyers, the second-time buyers, people buying a second home. So property is always on demand. I mean, it's not just the rental market that boosted it. It was a major factor of our country filled up with all these developments. But in reality, there is more to that. There is people who want a second home, summer residents, families growing, people relocating instead of renting, buying, So the factor of having more properties on the island, I mean, I would like to tell you, let's stop building and, no more permits. But in reality, it's hard to do that.
I understand.
Maybe adapt the way we are building. Maybe not just I mean, maybe put a bit of character and a bit of and in the areas, color scheme, whatever. But not
bit of vision, maybe. Bit of vision. Maybe focus on renovations rather than just keep building ugly apartments. What do you think, Ed? Can we just sort of agree that we need to focus on a vision?
Get some people hate me by saying I believe that we should keep on building, but in reality, it's the way forward, But as I said, I believe that we should adapt, maybe put some character or but building is
some character. Just a little bit of character maybe would be great. Okay, Thomas, I'm gonna come to you now.
Let's see what they are.
I have to say. Just give me 1 second.
Benji, once we're here, just go for it.
I don't know how many properties, beautiful houses empty in Malta. No one knows who owns them. No one knows what's happening with them. And unless the government does something about those, I think we'll just continue building ugly blocks of flats. Because I think that should be a priority in Malta, that they should be taxed so that they move and sell the property to someone who wants to renovate them. And I think that's the way forward. And it will reduce a lot of construction, because there's a lot of them. People like small houses, old flats, old properties to renovate. And there are some very, very, very nice properties out there. So I think it will give a break to the construction industry if they had to do this for a few years. And then they'll go back to building again.
What can I say, Benji? I quite like that idea. I think we need to focus on what's already built and make it look good and improve the island as a whole. Anyway, Thomas, I'm going to come to you, perhaps just for a bit of insight into... No, don't worry. This question has...
Okay, no worries, Joe.
Edward's answered it, and Benji too. So, Thomas, if you could give me a bit of insight into what are renters looking for now? We're 8 months into COVID. Have the trends changed at all? And perhaps what are your predictions of what they're going to continue to look for that might be different to before COVID?
No, one of the things we've noticed, as in with the new type of renters we are getting, is that they are second-time renters in Malta, or sometimes even third-time. So what that is meaning is that they are a lot more experienced in relation to the housing authority. They're more knowledgeable, let's say, about the arms, applications, of what to expect in the properties, which is fair enough. If everything is done above board, it's no issue at all. Whilst before, I think, and that helps to weed out a number of landlords, as in those that are not running a professional service, it can be a bit taxing. In relation to the future renter, while obviously it's always great to get like a big office coming to Malta employing 400 or 500 people, something I believe that we can improve on in Malta is maybe having more of a digital nomad experience. So you'd get people, now with all this teleworking, it's shown it's possible. So if you're stuck in a cold northern country, why not come down to winter in Malta instead, So I am optimistic that maybe in 2 to 3 years' time, we'll see more of this type of semi-resident staying in Malta. So yeah, I am optimistic of the future, yes, in that aspect.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so as we wrap up our conversation today, and obviously we've had great insight there, and I do believe in a positive future for the market. Certainly, Edward, I'll come to you first, maybe for your closing thoughts on what your advice would be, either to renters at the moment or to landlords.
First of all, my advice is that both landlords and both tenants need to be reasonable. When concluding on a contract, it has to be a win-win situation. Both tenant and landlord need to be happy. Let's not take advantage of the situation where, because obviously an owner has 2, 3, 4 properties which are empty, then the tenant tries to take advantage of that and try and negotiate, to an exaggerated price, monthly price. Let's be reasonable. We'll go through this. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a worldwide pandemic, which is not just on our country. But my opinion is my take on this is, please be understandable, both owners, both tenants. When negotiating a contract, let's make sure it's a win-win situation, that both tenants and the landlord is happy, so that contract can remain for the whole period, and they're both happy.
Absolutely, great advice there, Ed, about working together and coming to an agreement that works for both parties. Thank you so much. Benji, what about you? What would be your advice again, for landlords or for tenants?
They just have to wait out this time. I mean, they have to be as flexible as possible, with each other. I mean, landlords want the place to be rented. They don't want the place to remain empty. So as long as they're flexible and reasonable, as Edward said, they should be able to rent it. There are clients out there. Their clients are moving from one place to another. So I think it's all up to the landlord now. I mean, it's the tenants have a choice. They can do what they want. They're in control at the moment. And as long as tenants keep to their side of the bargain and respect the landlords, I think we're in a good position. And next couple of years, I mean, things will get back to normal for sure.
Thank you, Benji. Lots to look forward to there as well amongst your advice. So thank you. And finally, Thomas, what would be your thoughts?
Seconding what Edward and Benji are saying, but it is a tenant's market at the moment. So in relation to landlords, just match the market expectations and run a smooth system. Obviously, do your checks on the tenants, because now that they are second-time renters, third-time renters, you can ask for reference letters from the previous landlord as well. So these are things that maybe now that the market is maturing due to this kind of circumstances, there are things that might be able to start being implemented in Malta. So just respect the market type of situation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to the three of you for being on the show today, for bringing us some positive advice as we look to the future of the rental market in Malta. Of course, some sobering facts and figures there, but at the end of the day, a positive future to look forward to. So thank you so much for being with me today on the Boardroom. And as always, thank you to you for watching us at home or at the office. We'll see you next time on the Boardroom.